The Central African Republic was only the beginning. By 2019, the Wagner Group, Russia's paramilitary force tied directly to the GRU, had spread its influence across the African continent. Now, their operations were expanding into Sudan, Libya, Mozambique, and the Sahel, turning fragile states into battlegrounds for Russia's growing shadow empire. The mission was clear: secure resources, eliminate opposition, and establish Moscow as a dominant force in Africa without ever officially deploying Russian troops. The GRU's role in Africa was not just about military conquest. It was a carefully orchestrated campaign of economic control, political manipulation, and covert warfare. Wherever Wagner arrived, so did Russian mining companies, oil executives, and intelligence operatives. African governments, desperate for security assistance, signed contracts with Wagner, giving them access to lucrative gold, diamond, and uranium mines in exchange for protection. In Sudan, Wagner mercenaries were deployed to protect Russian mining operations. The GRU provided intelligence and training to the regime of Omar al-Bashir, ensuring Russia's economic interests remained secure, even as mass protests threatened to topple the dictator. When Bashir was overthrown in 2019, Wagner pivoted, offering its services to the new Sudanese military rulers, making it clear that Russia wasn't backing a leader. It was backing control. In Libya, the GRU used Wagner to back General Khalifa Haftar, a warlord fighting for dominance in the ongoing civil war. Russian snipers, air support, and armored vehicles provided Haftar's forces with a strategic advantage, while the GRU coordinated arms shipments and disinformation campaigns to tilt the war in his favor. Wagner's involvement turned Libya into a staging ground for Russian influence, giving Moscow a foothold just across the Mediterranean from Europe. In Mozambique, the GRU oversaw a Wagner deployment to fight Islamist insurgents in the gas-rich province of Cabo Delgado. But the operation quickly turned into a disaster.
Poorly trained Wagner fighters, unfamiliar with guerrilla warfare, suffered heavy casualties. Some were reportedly beheaded by insurgents, forcing a retreat. Yet, despite the failure, Russia learned from the experience. Future missions would focus on intelligence-driven hybrid warfare, avoiding direct confrontations when possible. In the Sahel region, Wagner forces embedded themselves within Mali's military junta, offering counter-terrorism support in exchange for access to the country's vast natural resources. The move pushed France and other Western powers out of Mali, allowing Russia to become the dominant foreign player in the region. The GRU directed disinformation campaigns portraying Wagner as liberators, while Western troops were depicted as colonial oppressors. But Wagner's presence came with a price. Reports surfaced of massacres, war crimes, and brutal executions carried out by Russian mercenaries. In Mali, a joint operation between Wagner and Malian troops allegedly killed hundreds of civilians suspected of collaborating with jihadists. In Sudan, Wagner operatives were accused of helping suppress anti-government protests, ensuring pro-Russian factions remained in power. The GRU's long-term strategy was clear. Africa was a battleground where Russia could expand its influence while evading direct confrontation with the West. Unlike traditional military occupations, the Kremlin could deny responsibility, claiming Wagner was an independent group, even as GRU officers provided intelligence, logistics, and operational planning. As Wagner forces expanded, so did Moscow's economic and strategic grip on Africa. The Kremlin wasn't just gaining military control, it was securing ports, air bases, and access to Africa's vast natural wealth, all while pushing Western nations out. Despite international condemnations, Russia's influence in Africa only grew stronger. With the GRU guiding the Wagner Group's expansion, Moscow had found a new way to wage war, one fought in the shadows, beyond conventional battlefields, and fueled by the promise of wealth and power. Africa was now part of the new great game, and the GRU was playing for keeps.